May 10th, 2016. Please rise and join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Have a roll call for quorum, please.
Mr. Milano? Mr. Oxley?
Yes.
Mrs. Wolf? Mr. Maloney?
Present.
Mr. Butler?
Here.
Mr. Casey?
Likens.
Mr. Likens?
Yes, here.
5 present. We do have a quorum. Next item up is approval of the minutes of the previous meeting.
Motion to approve. Second.
Motion by Mr. Oxley, second by Mr. Portfolio. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Staff, we just have the one.
Yes, if I could just do a brief introduction, and then we'll let the applicant speak first. The applicant is Julco LLC. They've submitted final development plans for a 313,000 plus or minus square foot building in the Heritage Crossing Corporate Center. The property is intended to be developed in 2 phases, and at this time, the applicant is seeking approval of both phases so that when they're ready to move forward with that phase, they don't have to come back a second time. The plans that are going to be considered this evening are Phase 1 and Phase 2 colored elevations, the final development plan, a final landscape plan, a final plat of subdivision, and engineering site improvement plans. On the computer monitors, for the benefit of anyone in the public who's here this evening, I have the original site plan that shows the property in question that's being redeveloped into a different format than what was previously approved. And then unfortunately, I do not have an actual site plan of the proposal that I can put up, but there is one on the easel there for, again, for the people who are in the audience this evening, so they can see the difference.
That should be sufficient. Thank you.
So with that being said, I would ask the applicant and whoever's going to speak on their behalf to come up.
Hi. We have a few people here, but I'll get started. My name is Ken Julian, one of the owners of Julian Electric, which is would be the tenant of this facility. That's the third generation, closely held family business. Been in business since the 1950s, manufacturing. Still clearly held, intending to stay that way. There's 3 of us as brothers who are and the third generation owners right now. The Jewel Code, just for clear confusion, is just the LLC that will own the building alone. So it's the same people, same owners. Yeah, we are excited about the potential of moving to Lockport. We have 3 facilities in Westmont right now, about 20 minutes away. I think everyone knows where Westmont is. We've grown over 55 years from other suburbs in the Chicago area. Outgrown facilities as we've gone and kind of capped out in Westmont right now. Some older buildings and separated into 3 different buildings. It causes its own issues. So taking us a long time and looking around in different neighborhoods and towns and counties to figure out maybe what's the best options for us. We anticipate on continuing our current mode of business, which is light manufacturing, assemblies, where we make electrical assemblies for trucks, buses, some automotive business, construction equipment manufacturers in the United States mostly. We have a facility in Mexico, in case anyone looks at our website, just to support the Mexico market. We currently employ just under 300 people in Westmont between the 3 buildings. I think we're right around 290 right now. We anticipate that being about the same when we would potentially move in next year. With a slight growth that first year, maybe 20 people. Not everyone will probably come with us. We're trying to work that out now. So we'll be replacing some and hopefully hiring local too. The closer the better as far as we're concerned. So we're excited. I'm sure there'll be some questions. We'd be happy to work with the residents, the village, and make sure that this is a good solution for everybody. And we have representatives from the engineering firm that have been working with us and our project manager to make sure we address anything that might be of concern or questions. So if there's anything for me as far as the business itself.
Okay, well, I've got to hold the public hearing first, then we'll get back
Got
to
it.
you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
I'm Kyle Schumacher with Ketone Partners. I'm the development project manager for Julco. Just a couple items on the site plan that differ from the original plan and the reason that we're here this evening. The original plan approved by ML, or approved for ML, included 3 buildings. All 3 had east and west facing truck docks that were exposed to the north of the residences. The building plan that we've submitted and are proposing has south facing truck docks, basically no truck docks facing or visible from the north residences. Our traffic for Phase 1 is going to be coming on and off of 147th Street. We've got ample parking for the building and the office on the south side of the building, facing 147th Street, and have included a fire loop around the building. I believe we've addressed and responded to all staff's comments to date, but are happy to listen to additional comments or questions that you have at the appropriate time.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time, we'll open the public hearing, take comments from the public. Motion to open the public hearing.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Oxley,
Second.
second by Mr. Portfolio. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Is there anyone here from the public that wishes to speak on this proposal? So step up to the microphone, state your name.
My name is Tom Williams. I live at 14458 Stately Oak Circle, Homer Glen, Illinois, 60491. I just have a couple questions about the new plan. The first question is regarding the north side of the proposed parking. Will that be put in on Phase 1 of the original building, pre-Phase 2, or just depending upon how much parking you guys actually need once you're full scale?
Sir, they'll raise your questions after the hearing.
Okay.
They're making notes on that.
Okay, so that's the first question. Second question is the access into the parking. At least the letter that we got showed parking entrance or entrance into the facility at the far northeast corner on the proposed parking on the north side. And I wanted to understand, is that in fact going to be true and access off of State Street, Lamont Road, or is that going to be pushed further down as the original plans had showed entrance into the facility about midway through this section right here on Lamont Road? Because, and my concern is that's really, really close to the neighborhood, and there's going to be about 200 car parking spots approximately in that area. So that was a question and a concern for me. That's all I had.
Sure. Is there anyone else like to make a statement? Please step up to the microphone, state your name, sir.
My name is John Lucas. I'm at 14525 Acorn Drive. Just a few questions, and I'll probably piggyback on a few that were just mentioned. In the third paragraph, it says, the revised site plan will benefit the nearby properties as the truck doors do not face any adjacent residential homes. Ingress and egress of the initial building utilizes 147th Street. So on the plan, it appears as if there's, just as was mentioned, a possible entrance and exit on Lamont. So I'm not sure if that's in a stage 2 or if that one's going to be utilized after the one on the 147th Street is going to be utilized. In that same paragraph, it mentions a long-term occupant bringing a large office component and quality jobs to the area. I'm just curious as to what that means. Because my property is the one that's probably closest to the proposed site and all the parking in the back, and for security reasons, I'm going to guess that it's going to be fairly well lighted. So our property looks over across onto the parking lot, and I don't know just how bright that is going to be and if there is any consideration to the homeowners as far as that's concerned. There was something mentioned about the landscaping too, so I don't know to what extent There'll be any additional trees put in, the berm higher than it already is, but I'm just kind of curious. We have property that abuts the proposed site. So far, a lot of the trucks have been utilizing Lamont Road, and I haven't looked closely, but I have heard that there's already been some damage to the road because of the weight of all the trucks that are utilizing them. I'm going to guess that that's going to discontinue, but if there is any damage, is there any consideration of repairs? And is, because of the extent of traffic anticipated in that area, do you anticipate widening Lamont Road? I'm not proposing that. I'm not a proponent of that. I'm hoping it doesn't happen. As much traffic as can be eliminated from Lamont Road would certainly be appreciated. I don't know that I have anything else. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, sir.
My name is Michael Smith. I live at 14453 Stately Oaks, and I have much of the same concerns as the last gentleman. The existing two buildings that are adjacent to the subdivision effectively have floodlights that are lighting up backyards of two neighbors. Those are a little obnoxious, to say the least. They shut them off in the last 2 days. I don't know why. My understanding there was a legal dispute with one of the neighbors and said building. So whether or not that's being taken care of, I have obvious concerns if you build two more and put said lights showing or basically lighting up the neighborhood. Additional issues, the same thing the last gentleman said about whether there will be screening put up, such as trees and the like. These buildings are rather large, and as you might all imagine, if they put this in your backyard, you might not necessarily enjoy it any more than putting a super Walmart in your backyard. I'm okay with that. I respect the fact that you need to build these businesses, bring the tax revenue in. Perfectly fine with that. Just have these basic questions. And as an auxiliary note, I will say that the intersection of Lamont and 147th is already getting rather dangerous because you cannot view left and right. I don't think you want to put additional tractor trailers trying to turn onto the small, narrow road. As the previous gentleman said, Lamont Street, that is, it is difficult for people to even make a left turn, and there is no stop sign on 147th at this point. So those are kind of my concerns at this point. I mean, it's all kind of open to me at this juncture, so.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Sir?
Evening. Dave Snagusky, 14452 Stately Oak Circle, Homer Glen. Just some basic questions about your operation, since you are a manufacturing concern and you're going to be right up against our backyards. We'd like to know your hours of operation. Do you run 24/7? Do you run 1, 2, 3 shifts? You say you've got about 300 employees. That's a lot of vehicles. Lamont Road already now is very busy. We appreciate the fact that you're going to enter off of 147th Street. The thing is, you got to get to 147th Street. What's the preferred route? Is it going to be Lamont Road? Is it going to be Gallagher Road? Are you coming in off 159th Street? You know, it's nice to have what you're doing so far, and we really appreciate the truck docks facing south. That was a nice touch. But, you know, we have a concern about noise from the manufacturing part of the operation. The two buildings that are up around Stately Oaks now on the west side of our subdivision, really one building is not occupied. The other building has 4 subtenants that make virtually hardly any noise at all. Once in a while you hear a semi and that's it. Lighting has been an issue with ML Realty on the 2 buildings that have been up. We've had to continuously fight with them to shut the lights off on the east side of the buildings, which would face the backyards of the folks in Stately Oaks. On the first building that they built, they actually came in and lowered the lighting down below the berm so that it's a subdued light. You can hardly even see it. On the other building, for whatever reason, they didn't do the same. They actually had to shut the lights off. You guys are going to have parking lots all over the place back there. Lighting is a big issue out by us. It's dark. We want to keep it dark. So I'm sure you think you've got security concerns. I've lived there 20 years. There's no problem with security. Oh, and I guess, you know, you have a planned unit development for a reason, so people kind of understand the game plan and what's supposed to go in, and now you've got people coming and asking to change things around. I think you're opening yourselves up to future movement. You guys are in here asking for all these changes, and I was just curious, and you don't have to answer this if you don't want to, but what was wrong with building Site 9? The building is exactly the size that you need. It's laid out east to west. Truck docks are on the south side, and the entrance is off 147th Street, and you wouldn't have to come in here and ask for any changes. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Art Tazalka, 14518 Acorn Drive in Homerland, in the subdivision. I was questioning the entrance off of Lamont Road. You have a light you're putting up off 143rd Street now, and you got access through Gauger Road. Why can't you use that road for access and take that entrance off of State Street? Because you don't need that there. You got entrance, you made that fancy road 2-lane, you're gonna put a light up on either end, that should be sufficient to get those cars in. And you're talking about security, you know, it's pretty secure around there now, we don't have any issues, unless the people you're bringing in are questionable, I don't know. You say you're bringing in people from out of town, so, I don't know them people, and if you're running 3 shifts operation, could be a problem too. You know, it's gonna make it unsecure. So, thanks.
Sure. Anyone else care to make some comments? Sure, yes, sir.
I also want to just, I appreciate free market, so I don't want anybody to misunderstand our perspective, but it is a neighborhood, and we're hoping that we are all good neighbors. So you have your interests, we have ours, and we just hope it's a good joint relationship. I just wanted to reemphasize that intersection at 147th and Lamont, I think it's kind of dangerous as it is. It is really hard to see the traffic that is going westbound on 147th, and with the additional traffic, I anticipate that's going to be even worse. So whether it's stop signs or something to just mitigate any potential problem would certainly be appreciated. This is a touch off center from previous comments, but I'm assuming the water that comes into the facilities is Lockport water, and I'm new to the area, so we all on Wellham Septic. I've never lived in that until we moved into it. Not a particular big fan of Wellham Septic since I've moved in. So I don't know if there's any creative way or even a possible way of, if there are lines going into, water lines going into the area, if there's any chance of tapping into that for the neighborhood. It's probably an expensive endeavor, but I'm just curious as to what the feasibility of that is. I think that's it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Hi, I'm Jessica Davis. I live at 14453 Stately Oaks Circle in Homer Glen, Illinois, 60491. We just purchased our house a little less than a year ago, and we will be facing the building, so it will be in our sight every morning. So I guess my major concern is how are they going to make the view better for us, especially with property values. Eventually, the goal is to sell your home, and so I want to make sure that that's not costing us a pretty penny at some point. So I just want to make sure that they have some plan for that to help us out, because most people who are going to plan to sell are going to lose out probably a pretty substantial amount, since it is a great neighborhood. The acreage for the houses are really well maintained. It's a quiet neighborhood, so this will definitely impact the housing market for us. So I just want to make sure that they have a plan for that, because the trees right now for the other buildings are very tiny. They don't block the view at all, so I just hope that this company will do a better job of that. Even if they could build like a fence or something, or big tall trees, like almost like a forest preserve area, that would be wonderful.
Thank you, ma'am. There's no further comments for the motion to close the public hearing.
So moved. Second.
Motion by Mr. Oxley, second by Mr. Portfolio. All those in favor? Motion carries. Sir, would you care to respond? Gentlemen?
I'll do my best to answer most of these questions that we can. The first comment was the north parking, so it would be the parking north of the building. When will that be installed? There is a fire lane that's required by code that will be installed day one, that gives the fire department access around the building. All of the parking that's needed for Julian's operations for day one will be constructed as shown in the plan. None of the parking on the north side of the building will be constructed immediately. That would be future parking. Prior to that being constructed, there are about 90 stalls on the south side of the initial parking lot that can be constructed for their use. The second question was the access onto Lamont Road. We would plan that when the building is expanded, that access point would be put in. It would be used only for autos and emergency vehicles. Circulation to that northeast access point to Lamont Road would basically not be available for trucks. It did shift north just based on the site plan and the areas that we could maneuver those vehicles safely. One of the questions was parking lot lights. We did respond to staff's comments and reduce the lighting levels on the north side of the building. Right, Mark? What did we bring those down to?
We brought them down to 0 level on the property line, as required for code.
Okay, so 0 foot candles at the property line? Or minimal at the property line per code? So we've responded to staff's comments and brought those lighting levels down to an acceptable level per code. We do not plan any additions to the berm that's existing out there, but we are following city code for all landscaping. I have gone through and addressed any landscaping comments and questions that staff asked and made adjustments to our plan. The question about water lines is really outside the scope of our project. That seems like a City of Lamont question to address.
The entire development is on city water and sewer.
Yes, sir. And then I think the other question related to the intersection of Lamont Road and 147th. We do have signage at our truck entrance to and from the project, which is one access point for trucks on and off of 147th Street. And we have signed that as right turn only on the way out, so trucks shouldn't be making a left turn. We don't know where all the employees will come from. We hope that there'll be some local employees hired in addition to Julian's current employee base. But again, we can't really control whether, they're coming through the major entrance off of 355. I'm assuming they will based on the way that we circulate traffic down there.
So for clarification, the truck route is going to be 147th Street West to Gauger Road North.
Yes, sir. One other question was hours of operation and shifts.
So, just to clarify again on the parking quantity, Kyle clarified we're not putting anything on the north on phase one. That would be the last parking we would add. We have added some from our initial submission in the main parking lot to give us even more flexibility for growth. We don't have to construct more parking within the next few years with any kind of growth. So we already have extra capacity with this initial plan, and there's more room for more spots up in that main lot before we would even consider on the north. As far as our employee hours and traffic, we are on a single shift for now. For the most part, we have been that way. I don't have a crystal ball to say it will always be like that, but we prefer to run single shift if we can, so that's always our default. That's why we've added a lot of space and had the room to grow additional space. We like to control the operations as much as possible. It's not a high-volume, low-cost type manufacturing. It's an engineered product that requires a lot of oversight and management. So that those shift hours right now are 7 to 3:30, with some managers coming in before 7 and some maybe staying till 5. And that's the gist of the hours. So the bulk of the car traffic would be 6:30, between 6:30 and 7, where the factory employees are coming in. And then at 3:30 to 4, with the managers, again, you're kind of buffering that on either side. Yeah, it's 5 days a week, occasional Saturday overtime, not full shifts usually, as needed. And I just want to echo and agree with being a good neighbor. We're coming from an area in Westmont that's adjacent to a residential area as well. It was a little bit different. The industrial park was actually there first in that case, but it's grown, and there's been a park put in next to us, so there's been a lot of residential, family traffic that was of concern for us, and we've always been very conscious of that, and it means a lot to us. We live in the nearby suburbs, and it's a generational type construction project for us, not just, we're there every day running the operations, and intend to keep it that way, and being physically on site every day. So, it's a family held, closely held thing. We take it seriously, take the appearance of the building seriously, and we'll continue to work, with the village on making sure we're compliant with everything and working with the neighbors as well. Just one more thing. I think there was one other question on the entrance off Lamont Road. I think the first gentleman mentioned that. That is, there'll be no entrance off Lamont Road to start. The only entrance will be off 147th into that main lot. So only in the case where we went to that 300,000 foot size would we even need to consider that entry off Lamont Road. And again, no, I can't make any promises, but we'll work with our employees to make sure they're taking the right route into the plant to help, smooth out the car traffic as much as possible. But
The trucks with your shipping and receiving will come from 143rd down Gallagher to 147th, right?
that's how we understood it coming in, and that we would come off 355 in most cases, I assume, off 143rd, Gallagher Road into our lot off 147th, and back out through Gallagher Road.
I believe Gallagher farther south has a load limit of 7 or 8 tons, which would preclude trucks going that way. With Lamont Road, they're adjacent. I'm not sure whose jurisdiction that is. I believe there's a load limit that. I'm not sure if that's. It's our, but the thing is, it's.
It's not a designated truck route.
No, it isn't.
Right.
And it's
So,
only being used right now as such because of the fact that Gallagher Road is blocked park because the signal has not been fully installed.
Right.
But the signal is in the works being installed, and I believe it should be opening.
May 16th.
yeah, so, I mean, and realistically, if a truck driver with a CDL chooses to ignore a load limit and risk losing his CDL, that's an enforcement issue. I mean, not a zoning issue. But I would have to assume a truck driver is not going to jeopardize his livelihood by ignoring the local load limits.
Right. And I'd like to point out, we do have being a manufacturer, higher car content, but relative to a warehouse operation, less truck traffic, less trailers, few, if any, trailers actually being stored. I know they're not facing your residences, but stored on site. They're in and out, deliveries in the morning, and we ship out at the end of the day. Maybe, 6 trucks in the morning, maybe 10 trucks at the end of the day. So I think that's important to note too. So it's a different kind of operation than a lot of the ones with fewer employees, but major truck traffic.
And I'd have to assume you're manufacturing, the nature is clean and green, nothing going into water, the ground, the air, nothing like that?
Yes, of course, yeah. And speaking of that, it's related to noise too. We're not a very loud operation at all. I called it light manufacturing, that's kind of a catch-all, but it's a lot of manual assembly, wire harnesses, battery cable assemblies, instrument panel assembly, a couple big punch presses, but the doors should be closed all the time. We're hoping to ventilate it very well so that there's not, one of those old punch press plants where you can hear it as you drive by, right? That's not the kind of operation, so.
I would assume with this high-tech type of manufacturing, you're going to have the whole building climate controlled?
Most likely, we're looking at the economics of the plant,
Okay.
the factory being air-conditioned, and there's been improvements in technology to keep that relatively comfortable for those couple hot months of the year. It would be heated, of course, for the cold months. So what else was I going to say? Yeah, so we're still looking at that, the details as far as that goes. But someone else brought up the jobs, since that was brought up in the posting. There's a lot of, I guess, lower-level manufacturing, entry-level jobs, which I think are important for the area. But we also have been increasing as far as our quality and engineering staff over the years, which actually has been pulling more from this area, Plainfield, younger professionals. So we anticipate that continuing. Our customers are expecting more and more support and us being more of the engineers, for them rather than them doing it. So there's a good mix now of types of jobs for all ranges of skills, unskilled all the way up through electrical engineers with 20 years of experience, that kind of thing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay,
Sir, do you mind if I ask you,
Sure.
what your building's going to be made of? Is it going to be like prefab concrete that are currently there? Or
It'll be the same as what's there. The only difference, you'll notice more of a corporate-looking office on the corner. It's just because we're a corporate headquarters. But same construction, I think same height as the other buildings that are already there. Yeah. It shows the whole 300,000. The initial plan will be, this is the south elevation, so from 147, with the corner, the southwest corner being the office. And I believe it goes to about here for the initial. Maybe 176,000. This whole area here will be maintained by us as an open area. You can see that they can get required and maintained as it looks now. So yeah, a little bit color differences than maybe the other ones for a look, but at least as good as the other ones.
Are those windows that are black at the top, or?
Yeah, these are windows to kind of let some light into the plant for the workers.
I'm assuming you have more glass in the office.
Yeah, there's more glass here, and then we have extended glass on the west side. So the rest of the office and the luxury.
So when you build your second phase, you're actually going to connect the two buildings then? They won't be separate?
No, it would most likely be, as we're submitting for approval, would be a
It'll be in addition to the first building.
if we did anything different, that would have to be started.
I mean, this is when you anticipate starting construction?
We'd like to start in July.
That's pretty when you anticipate phase two? Or that we
We'll
have
have
a
that stuff.
possibility of not doing phase two?
There's always that possibility.
Phase two depends on the marketplace.
Depends how good salesmen we are.
Sure. Okay.
We have 125,000 feet now. We're going to 175. So we have some open space to begin with, to be honest with you.
I had heard, and I don't think this is more anecdotal, that that little bit of wooded area that's on the southeast corner, is that a protected area? Yes.
Wetlands?
Yeah. That's
Okay, if we could, I'd like to proceed with the panel. Mr. Oxley, any questions or concerns?
Truck route has been answered, 147th Street to Gallagher, 143rd. Lights on the existing buildings, nothing to do with you, that's we'll cover later. And a stop sign to 147th, which that's nothing to do with you guys either. No, I have no issues.
Thank you. Mrs. Wold?
I'd like to thank you for thinking of our community as a place to build a new building, and I have no question.
Thank you. Mr. Porfilio?
Two quick items. I know the landscaping was approved per city ordinance except for along Lamont Road. Is there a utility easement that's getting in the way of you putting the trees and shrubs along there? Does that utility easement encroach far enough into the property where you couldn't fit it between the proposed building in the future and the easement? Can't squeeze anything in there?
They had trees proposed in the ditch of Lamont Road. That's the only space in the right-of-way because of the power poles. And staff, we discussed that and decided that's not a good place for full-size trees in the ditch. They have ornamental landscaping that will go in with Phase 2. There's like a double row of trees in the setback.
Okay, so there's an attempt at doing something, okay.
Yes.
The other concerns were covered already with the truck route and the lighting levels at the property lines. And the only other thing was the color palette of the buildings. I don't know if that's something that is objectionable, but as long as it looks like the ones that are out there now and it's not an eyesore, it's fine with me. That's all I had.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Likens?
Most of my comments have already been addressed here relative to lighting, landscaping, the truck routes. The ingress, egress in the future off of Lamont Road, obviously that's a question mark if that ever happens, and I understand the need for the fire access at that point. And it's not necessarily our spot to comment, but suggestion maybe that's only fire access off of Lamont Road as opposed to lots of cars going in and out off of Lamont Road. But just a suggestion, maybe something to think about in the future, if and when that addition goes. So otherwise, I wish you good luck with the construction. And thanks for the comments from the public.
Thank you. I find this whole proposal to be quite acceptable. I'm assuming your employees initially are going to commute from where they live now, but we'd like to think that over a period of time, if they really like Lockport, they'll consider relocating here and becoming a member of our community. But I think all of my questions and concerns have been addressed. I think the public has too. Staff's recommendation is to recommend approval.
If I could just enter a
Sure.
couple things into the record, since this is an amendment to the original PUD and because it was a public hearing, that would be okay?
Sure.
First of all, I just would like to, I know we did a pretty good job at summarizing what the original proposal was versus now what the changes are. I would just like to add for the record that the 50-foot berm landscape buffer along the north property line, which provides screening from adjacent residential, there is no change to that. That was approved as part of the original proposal, so no additional plantings are being proposed there. I'd just like to clarify that originally, the original PD showed 3 buildings, which total 300,892 square feet of floor area. With this new proposal, it's going to be a consolidation essentially of the lots of the building per se, and that now there will be one building that will be constructed in 2 phases. Upon completion of both phases, the total floor area will be 313,229 square feet, with the first phase being 176,894. The orientation of the buildings has changed from the original north-south. The docks located on the west and east sides. Now they will be oriented east-west with the docks located on the south side. And then lastly, the number of lots. Initial plan was 3 lots, 1 for each building. We're going to 1 lot, which will be a consolidated lot for phase 1 and phase 2. The detention area lot will remain as it is. It was addressed too about the parking And so even though by code, the lesser parking was meeting code, staff worked with them to up the number so that they could at least meet one parking space per employee, which they agreed to do. So that's why the additional land-based parking was being installed up front. The sidewalks and bike paths are not being constructed within Heritage Corporate Center, and that was a decision that was made after the original proposal. There was a letter from ML Realty that addresses that. With the landscaping along Lamont Road, Steve addressed that, is that yes, they did come in and show trees like the code requires. However, because it's a rural cross section and the ditch really didn't allow for the additional planting, the consideration that was made is that in lieu of installing the trees, that they would submit a cash donation of cost per trees that would be required, which is about $4,800, which would then be put into the city coffers for placement of parkway trees in other areas that need them. So they agreed to do that. Also tonight, we're considering the subdivision plat. Our city engineer, consulting engineer did review the submittal. An approval memo is included in your packet. The fire district also reviewed this item, and they had no objections or comments to the proposal. This is an item that is moving forward to the city council. There are no conditions that are being placed on it because the applicant worked very diligently with staff to make sure that all codes and ordinances were being met and all comments were addressed appropriately.
Thank you. There's no further comments at this time. I will entertain a motion to approve.
I'll make that motion to concur with staff's recommendation.
Second.
Motion from Mr. Oxley to concur with staff's recommendations, second by Mr. Portfolio. Any questions or discussion on the motion? Seeing and hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mr. Oxley?
Yes.
Mrs. Wold?
Yes.
Mr. Maloney?
Yes.
Mr. Porfirio?
Yes.
And Mr. Likens?
Yes.
Motion carries 5-0. This will go before the city council.
Yes, we're going to work to try to get it for next week, because to try to maintain their construction schedule.
On the
So it would be
18th?
the 18th of May, yes, that's
Or the
correct.
city,
The committee of the whole.
for the committee of the whole on the 18th. It'll be right here. Okay, thank you. That was the only matter on the agenda. Mr. Oxley?
Pam, could we check on the original, and I don't know what it was, I think on the original drawings of this subdivision here, the 147th Street improvements included. Stop signs on 147th Street. There are none there, just one on Lamont Road.
Yes, I have it noted when the residents were speaking, so I will check with our engineering department to see what the intentions are with respect to that, and then if not, see what we can do to take care of
And
it.
also the lighting on the buildings, it was mentioned it has been turned off. We could check with ML and see what their status is on that, or what's. That's it, I have nothing else.
Okay, any other comments? Anything under miscellaneous? Hearing and seeing none, have a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Oxley, second by Mr. Portfolio. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Thank you.